I'm Ashley,
And I'm Andrea.
and welcome to Two Therapists and a Cocktail, keeping
Keeping it
it
real.
real.
Woo! We're back. We're
We
back. Where
are
we been
back. Girl,
at?
we've been all
Life.
over the place. We either been traveling, schooling,
Mm-hmm.
working,
Man.
family. We've been
Man.
all over the place, but it's
We've
time
been
to
all
get
over the
back.
place.
Yes,
We are back. And we needed to say that to y'all. Because we keep it real. Okay,
yes,
we've been busy. We're
yes,
therapists.
yes.
Okay? We got time to always be talking to y'all. My Lord.
We trying to
Y'all don't pay us.
we
Y'all don't pay us.
trying to get through this too.
Okay.
We trying to get through life too.
We are trying to get through life.
So
Say it
sometimes
again.
we got to take a break, y'all. Sometimes we got to
Yes,
take a
we
break.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. And that's just fine.
Yeah.
So, what are we getting into today?
Ugh. We are getting into infidelity. We gonna go
My
there.
favorite subject.
We
My
are going
favorite
to
subject.
go there. Yeah.
I love talking about this
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people out here who have just a lot of severe hurt from infidelity. And when we're thinking about that, it really comes from a place of how you remember that.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you can have a memory in your mind and you can decide whether you want to live your whole life with this memory in your mind on how you've dealt with your infidelity.
Yeah.
You can paint your ex as a villain,
Mm-hmm.
or you could hold yourself accountable maybe in your participation in this infidelity.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were the cheater and you have painted yourself as a villain and you self-sabotage in a lot of your other relationships now.
Yeah.
But infidelity is also always like very tricky, especially like if you have not healed from that, because you will carry that baggage.
That is so true.
And so
Yeah.
when you think of like infidelity, like what is our working definition for this?
When I think about it, I think, it's someone being unfaithful to their spouse, especially when the both of you or the many of you, let's keep that real, have made a commitment with each other. And when that commitment has been broken, that is considered unfaithful. Because that could look different in any relationship. What I might consider to be infidelity or cheating might be different for you.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
And it might be different for your partner. So
that
you
part.
also got to clear that up too.
That part.
And so
Yeah.
there are so many different types of infidelity.
Yeah.
So let's get into that first. So
Yeah.
we can think about it from like an emotional space, like when you deepen your emotional connection with someone who is not your partner,
Right.
who you're in a committed relationship with.
Yeah.
Or you could have a physical type of infidelity when you decide to step out on your partner in a physical space with someone else. That could mean sexually. That could mean just kissing somebody else. That could mean just holding hands with somebody else, really, if we want to go there.
Right.
But anything just under that physical capacity. Those are the different types that we're thinking about. And
Yeah.
I feel like we don't talk about emotional infidelity enough. And
Yeah.
this might be an unpopular opinion,
Yeah.
but sometimes I think emotional infidelity occurs before physical infidelity.
Definitely.
And in an emotional space, emotional infidelity can be a little bit more challenging than physical infidelity when you kind of think about it.
Yeah.
And some of the statistics like surrounding that is men will get more hurt when their partners choose to step out in a physical infidelity space, and women get more hurt when their partners choose to step out in an emotional space.
Yeah.
And when we really think about it, like
Yeah.
if we're thinking just biologically, right, that makes a lot of sense because men typically are more drawn to physical connections with people, and women are more drawn to having that emotional connection with somebody. And
Right.
so it's really tricky.
It is very tricky. And if you think about that, right, us women, when we cheat, it's because really in our minds and in our heart, we done. We done.
Hmm.
It's either we done or we trying to be vindictive. Let's keep it real. And they're more like, ooh, she pretty. I'm a tap that. They not
Hmm.
even thinking like, oh, I got a family or I'm
No,
married or I'm in a
no,
relationship. It's like, ooh,
no,
she's showing me
no.
some attention too. I'm a tap
Hmm.
that. I'm gonna get
Hmm.
that, you know. So
Yeah.
it's different ways of how we see it as females and how men see it as men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And let's go under like a little bit more. Like
Mhm.
let's look at like some of those trends. So you said like
Yeah,
women, they usually step out like when they're done. So
yeah,
let's talk about some of the things that might be missing like
yeah.
in the relationship that's making them decide,
Mhm.
"Oh, I just need some more attention." And that's also another myth. Like some
Yeah.
people think, "Oh, they were going out like looking for it. They were looking for somebody to cheat with." That's actually not true. A
Right.
lot of times people can kind of stumble into that. Like,
Yeah.
take for example, you have a woman who does not get affirmed in her relationship. The guy is not prioritizing her, guy or,
Yeah.
whatever your choice is not like affirming you, isn't prioritizing you.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have any quality time together. Y'all's focus is on something completely different.
Yeah.
But then her coworker compliments her all the time, notices her
Mm.
new hairstyle,
Yeah.
notices the way she's carrying herself, notices how well she's doing on her job, and decides to pour into her.
Yeah.
That begins that emotional connection.
It does.
And it begins to get a little dangerous. Now, I'm not saying like you shouldn't have friends that hype you up or coworkers that hype you up. It gets dangerous when you start to seek it.
Right.
That's when you really get into that emotional
Yeah.
infidelity waters,
Yeah.
right? And you just have to be super mindful of, okay, I know
Mhm.
that this is something I like.
Right.
It becomes a problem when you decide not to ask for those things from your partner,
Yeah.
which is why I think that infidelity kind of becomes like a little bit of a nice idea. And a lot of times, when we find like in couples, like,
Mhm.
oh, I fell into this emotional connection with somebody, you can convince yourself, oh, it's not bad because it's not like I'm sleeping with them. They just give
Right.
me compliments. I
Right.
just like talking to them. And
Right.
that's a problem.
It is a problem,
Yeah.
especially when you don't realize that you don't have any boundaries with this person. You haven't set any boundaries
Mm-hmm.
with this person. Okay, it's nice that they
Mm-hmm.
compliment you, but when you notice that the compliments are getting more and more, they're wanting to maybe spend some more time with you, a little bit more time with you, that's when the
Mm-hmm.
problems start. And then, two,
Mm-hmm.
there are things that you are wanting from your partner, and then you're not communicating that. You're not communicating that
Yeah.
at all. And it's not like they could read your mind. So if you're not telling them,
Yeah.
and then you're just sitting there like in your stuff, like, oh, my partner
Yeah.
doesn't give me any attention, they don't give me any
Mm-hmm.
compliments, then you go looking for it somewhere else. That's where the problem is. You got to
That's where the
communicate to your
problem
partner what
lies.
you need from them.
And I want to also like
Yeah.
be mindful that
Hmm.
you also need to know the company that you keep, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes not everybody's rooting for you.
That is
Okay.
true. That is true.
Sometimes your coworkers aren't rooting for you. Sometimes your friends that you've had like for
Yeah.
a long time, your sister, your
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
Sometimes they ain't rooting for you, babe.
Yeah.
And if at any time your play brother or your play cousin or whomever, your non-blood relative,
Yeah.
um, if you have ever flirted with this person, you need to let your partner know that from the jump.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
now that is a relationship that they need to know, okay, Do you have established boundaries with this person? Are they going to be flirting with you on the side?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, y'all.
Yeah.
You need to decide for yourself, okay, is like a one flirt off gonna bother me? Do I want my partner not to flirt with nobody at all? If they flirt with anybody, I consider that cheating.
Yeah.
And let your partner know that.
Yeah.
Because some people find that like attractive. Like, oh, my partner was like flirting with this other person, but we got drinks at the bar. But like
yeah.
But like on any other occasion, would that be okay with you?
Yeah.
Because it's not okay to have flexible rules like that.
Yeah.
And I tell people that all the time. Like, you cannot have an if, and, or but rule.
Right.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair to anybody. Because if you have an if, and, or but rule, that basically means you can never argue with them about that behavior at all.
At all, yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not going to get mad at homie for flirting with the bartender to get you free drinks, you can't get mad at them when they at the cookout flirting with your cousin's friend.
Okay. And this is why it's important, y'all. When you get into these relationships, or even if you're in a relationship, you really need to know, what level are y'all on? Are y'all on the same page? Do we need to talk about what that looks like, what cheating looks like in this relationship? We need to identify that. So I have a question for you, Andrew, because I've heard this from a lot of people. They're like, I don't really consider, like, if they're in a relationship, they don't really consider, like, flirting or talking to somebody else as cheating. I guess the emotional infidelity. They don't consider that cheating.
But like,
like, what do you even say to that? Like,
okay, so flirting to me is different. Like, okay, I think there's different levels of flirting, right?
Okay.
I think it's like, oh, okay, I see you, cheetah print. Like, I see you looking good. I see you jean jacket. Like, I think that's level one. Level one of flirting. It's just a frivolous, like, little sweet compliment, right? But if we taking steps up and you're starting to compliment someone's physical appearance, when you're like, ooh, look at them big old juicy lips, looking scrumptious. Like, okay, we're treading into dangerous water.
Yeah.
When we start introducing physical compliments with touching, with physical touching now, that might be like level 3.
Yeah.
And then when you're starting to compliment with sexual undertones, that's when you're really reaching a level where it's like, okay, this can even go left or it can go right.
Right.
And you have to make yourself abundantly clear. Like, if we're talking level 1 flirtation, that's not something that's going to bother me.
Yeah.
But if that's something that's going to bother him, and I always like say, like, to couples, you have to decide what is going to threaten your stability in your relationship.
Right.
What level is going to threaten y'all?
Right.
Is going to threaten your success.
Yeah.
If level 3 is going to threaten your success, then you guys have got to say, okay, at level 3, got to cut that off. Some people are like, I don't care if he was like, she big booty Judy. That's fine with me. Like, I don't care because he's coming home with me.
Yeah.
So as long as that is fine, I can't even really say, like, guys, if your girl is like saying level 5 compliments, watch out. I'm not going to do that because that's something that, one, comes from a place of security within your relationship. Yeah. And not everybody is going to have that same level of security. Yeah. Only your partner can provide that for you. Yeah. And 2, it's also about mutual respect. Yes. Because you don't want to also have those kind of conversations and then people kind of thinking you a clown. Right. I'm also going to say that. Like, you can be as secure as you want to be. Yeah. Right? But you could be looking like a clown out here in these streets.
You can, especially in today's what's going on in the world today. You could definitely look like a clown.
Yeah, you don't want to be looking crazy, and that is also like another like layer. Like, yes, feel secure, but also have enough respect for your partner not to be having them look like bozo.
Yes. Yes. I think that's what it boils down to. When I'm out here in these streets, how am I
Yeah.
showing that I respect my partner?
Yeah.
How am I showing that I have self-control?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
because if it's everybody
Yeah.
coming up to you saying you look fine and then you falling into that trap,
Mm-hmm.
then you might need to look yourself in the mirror and ask, okay, what's going on with me that I keep
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
falling into this or wanting
Yeah.
more? That's when you need
Yeah.
to have these conversations with your partner. Like, look, this is what's been
Yeah.
coming up. This is how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to work
Mm-hmm.
through this. I want to work through this. How
Yeah.
can we do this together?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And I think
Yeah.
when you're looking like at the profile of someone who is a cheater, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at like a person who one like has a history of either unstable relationships. And
Yeah.
when I say cheater, I'm talking about someone who repeatedly cheats.
Yeah.
Like cheats often.
Yeah. Like
Can't
a serial
stop cheating for
cheater.
nothing, right? A serial cheater,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at someone who's been in a series of unstable relationships,
Mm-hmm.
who seriously self sabotages often,
Yeah.
and who has low self esteem.
Yeah.
Like you never want to. You never want to get too close to people, which is why you continue to self sabotage, which is
Yeah.
why you repeatedly feel bad about yourself. And if you're dating a serial cheater, here's one
Mm-hmm.
thing that you're always going to realize. They're going to
Yeah.
gaslight you often.
Yeah.
They're going
Yeah.
to they're going to gaslight you all the time.
Yeah.
Or they're going to make it seem like when they do get caught cheating, and they always get caught cheating by
Yeah.
being stupid, they're going to say things like, well, I never felt loved by you.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you always seem super busy for me.
Yeah.
A cheater who is not ready to reconcile with you will not take accountability for their actions.
Yeah.
When you see this happen, stop.
Yeah. Red
Stop.
flag.
Stop. Stop.
Yeah.
Flag on the play.
Yeah.
Stop. You are not going to get the result that you want if you forgive them in that moment. Forgive them for you,
Yeah.
for your health,
Yeah.
and then leave.
Yeah.
Because they're not in the space. If a
Yeah.
cheater does not feel like they're in a space to hold themselves accountable, you will never be able to hold them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
They
true.
have to do their own journey.
They
They
do.
have to have their own journey.
They do. And honestly, people that are serial cheaters, they really don't need to be in a relationship anyway. If you want to
No.
be with Sarah, Kim, Ashley, Tom, Dick, Harry, whoever, do that, but don't involve other people that you decided to make a commitment with. Just just be honest. Look, I'm not ready for a relationship. I want to deal with multiple people. Do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm actually glad you said that, because some of y'all think you're in a relationship
Mm.
and you are not.
Yeah.
And you have now branded your partner as a cheater. But
Yeah.
they were never in a relationship with you.
Exactly.
I was literally talking to one of my friends the other day, and he was like, yeah, I don't understand like why chicks be getting mad. Like, we can go on one date and she think I'm her man and I'm not. It was just a good time. Like,
Yeah.
I had a good time. You had a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you. No problem. But I'm not your man. And I think that's also the problem. Sometimes we think having great experiences with people equates to a relationship.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Don't do this to yourself. You are setting yourself up for failure, and you're setting yourself up to deal with an experience that isn't happening.
Right.
Like,
because you're
y'all are
so
over.
you're so into I just want to be loved. I just want to be in a relationship.
My man.
Slow
Girl, that is
down, girl.
Slow down. That is not your man. That is the world's man. Okay? let that man.
That's
Hello.
the community, man.
Let him be a world traveler. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and don't do that to yourself. Like, and that's for guys too, because some of y'all
Yes.
are just y'all want to be loved too. And
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm here
Yeah.
for wanting to be loved. But make that expectation clear.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, if you're going to go into a date, like,
Yeah.
really say that. Like, be like, I want to date with intention to be
Yeah.
in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
But you're not
Yeah.
going to get that after date one. And honestly,
Yeah.
like, if you rush into that,
Yeah.
love yourself first, because you're doing a lot.
But Angela, we got to keep it real on this. There are men that
Mm-hmm.
are honest, but sometimes, and I'm guilty because I've done this before. There are some
Mm-hmm.
men that are honest and they say, I'm not ready for a relationship yet. I just, or I want to date. Let's take it slow. But
Mm-hmm.
as the woman, you want to rush it. Or you feel
Mm-hmm.
like I could change him. Just if I were to do this, wash his clothes, cook dinner, do this and that.
Wash his
That
clothes.
that's gonna make him. That's gonna make him want me. That's gonna make.
Mm-mm.
Don't do that, y'all.
Don't do that.
If
Don't do
he
that.
said he's not ready, he
Listen.
said he's not ready. Ain't no mixed
What?
signals.
What's that? What's that? That saying? Why buy the milk when you can get the cow for free?
That part.
Don't do that.
Don't do
Don't
that.
do that. Don't do that. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you
Yes.
something. I feel like I was a PIMP in my former days,
You was a pimp.
and I was out there. A rotation, had a Rolodex. Okay.
Okay.
But I feel like that taught me good boundaries, right? Like, I feel like in my last relationship, I did not expose myself to things, and I didn't do things until I knew he
Yeah.
was serious.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't going to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not finna be coming over to take your dog out
Yeah.
if you're not gonna be marrying me
Yeah.
very soon. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not, listen, when I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not even going to no events with you
Yeah.
as your date
Yeah.
until I know we're serious, because you're going to get yourself into this place where it's like, but I baked you a cake and I did your
You're right
clothes.
about that.
Why?
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
And you're establishing a conditional love when you
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
Like, I can do all these things. Will you just give something back to me?
It
Security?
does.
You want him to give you security back
Yeah.
for you baking a
Cake.
cake? Like, don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
do that to yourself.
You
Don't
set
do that to
yourself
yourself.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You set yourself up doing that. Shoot, I know. Because I did it. And then you realize,
Girl.
like,
Girl.
okay, what is going on within me as to why I am doing the things that I'm doing? Is it love that I'm looking for? Like, what is it that I'm looking for? That's when I learned, girl, you need to love you. You need to take care of you first. Figure that stuff out
Yeah.
first before you go
Yeah.
loving somebody else that ain't even ready to be loved by you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's where that whole "you make me whole" thing comes from. Like,
Mhm.
you don't need to do that. Like, and
Yeah.
if you are seeking that much validation, that much affirmation from somebody who
Yeah.
you probably just met,
Yeah.
red flag.
Red
Red
flag.
flag for you. Sometimes you need to look in the mirror and be like, "Oh, I'm a walking red flag today."
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And that's where your support comes into play.
Yeah.
You need to be telling your friends, like, okay, so here's the play. I'm finna go over his house and I'm finna be in a trench coat with a birthday cake. What y'all think of that plan? I would tell you, girl, no, that
Right.
is not your man. That's not your man.
He ain't
Don't
your
do
man.
that.
He ain't your man, and you giving out wife privileges.
Yes. And don't do that. And I always like suggest to someone who is like so in love with the idea of love. We can get into that later.
Yeah.
But someone who's enriched with this idea, you need to change that person's name in your phone to perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Because every time
Yeah.
they text you, you need to come into the right perspective. Like, okay,
Right.
this is not my man. I like talking to them, but this is not my man.
That's right.
And sometimes just seeing like a flash of a word in your mind will take you to the right headspace.
Yeah.
Because if you're already like putting in your phone, Mr. Perfect or
Yeah.
Bae, that's
Yeah.
not Bae.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do
Don't do
it to
that. Don't do
yourself.
that to you. Please don't do it to yourself.
Don't do it to
Oh
yourself.
Lord.
Yeah.
So we talked about like
Hmm.
how, having like the wrong expectations in mind can also set you up for like
Yeah.
disaster. But
Yeah.
let's also kind of like rewind back and see like how cheating like affects
Yeah.
the people in the
Yeah.
relationship. How do you
Yeah.
how do you think it affects people?
I think it affects people in that for the person that's being cheated on, the trust is gone. And as we know, trust is one of the pillars of a foundation of any relationship. If we ain't got trust, we ain't got nothing. You shouldn't even be in no
Mm-hmm.
relationship with somebody you can't trust. So one,
Mm-hmm.
there's now there's trust issues. Now you're hurt. You
Mm-hmm.
are extremely hurt that this person that you love and you've committed to has done this. And
Yeah.
another thing may be there may be some communication issues too,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I I think, and this is going to be controversial, right?
Yeah.
I think that if the person who cheated is truly remorseful, right? Like
Yeah.
let's look at it from the lens of that, right?
Yeah.
Um there is hurt on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so like for the cheater, there is oh, this is going to be controversial. I already know. There is hurt
Mhm.
that they have hurt their partner that they are committed to in this
Yeah.
committed relationship to, right?
Yeah.
And there's also hurt in that they now have to decide, do I end this relationship that I was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that was providing something for me?
Mm.
Um, and that's very hard. That's
Yeah.
very, very hard to navigate
It is.
because for however long that relationship went, there was some kind of bond that
Yeah.
took place.
Yeah.
Enough for them to decide to do that.
Yeah.
And they now have to come face to face with this reality that they're in two different relationships that provide two different needs and they
Right.
don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But they are almost jolted into decision making time.
Yeah.
And that's just like not knowing what to do. But now you're just in this space where you're getting all of these questions and you haven't even processed it by yourself yet.
Right.
You don't know what you want to do because no one like puts on their calendar, I'm going to get caught cheating today.
Right.
It's just something happens.
Yeah.
And now you have all of these questions. You don't know in
Yeah.
that moment whether to tell the truth,
Right.
whether to lie,
Yeah.
or just to escape. And a lot of times that's where you find people. Like you find people like in that space where they're just like, I don't know what parts to tell you.
Right.
And when you're in kind of like that counseling session, that's what the cheater is saying most of the time. Like,
Yeah.
well, if I tell you more, that's going to hurt you.
Right.
And that's also like
Yeah.
something that people have to consider. Like when you have found out that your partner is cheating, you also have to decide, when do I want to hear the affair story?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think too, like what you're saying with working with the couple, the some of the things that I've seen is that they don't want to say the details because, like you said, they don't want to hurt the other person,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the person that's being cheated on, they want to know. But then sometimes they don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say this,
Mm-hmm.
if we don't lay it all out on the table, how are we
Yeah.
going to rebuild this foundation that has now been broken?
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
start somewhere in
Yeah.
rebuilding,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And maybe the other question is, what causes the person to cheat?
Yeah.
Is it that
And
they're
I
just not happy? Is it low self-esteem? Is it that the other partner didn't give them what they needed? And like
yeah.
what causes that, you think?
Yeah. I think it's a
Yeah.
lot of things that can
Yeah.
cause that. I think it can be
Mm-hmm.
maybe your relationship has plateaued. And that's not
Mm,
to say like we don't all like
yeah.
experience plateaus in a
Yeah.
relationship, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you're looking for something exciting. You're looking for a change. And that's
Mm,
only speaking in the realm of someone who's looking for something, right?
yeah.
But a lot of times it could just happen.
Yeah.
You've established an emotional connection with someone and it
Yeah.
snowballs into physical
Yeah.
connections. You don't have good boundaries with people. And we talk about that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Um, and that means like boundaries as far as like emotional connection. That talks
Yeah.
about boundaries like somebody's texting you too late. That's talking about boundaries with someone venting about their partner.
Right.
That's like a no-go too, because as
Yeah.
soon as you like kind of open your space for someone to interject their opinions about your relationship, that can kind of turn into some emotional infidelity because
You can.
you're choosing not to talk about those things with your partner who
Yeah.
is the one who matters. When
Right.
you start talking about that with
Yeah.
somebody who's not your therapist, who is not a biased party, who is not there to
Yeah.
seek success for you,
Yeah.
then that's a bit of an issue.
It
But
is. Yeah.
there are lots of reasons why people cheat.
Yeah.
And there's no one right answer.
There really
And
isn't. It
yeah,
just depends on the
yeah.
person. And I'm about to give y'all an example of what that looks
Okay.
like. So
Okay.
when I was eight, no, nine, like about 18 going on 19, I was in this relationship with a guy that I would say we were in love with each other. Like he was my
Mm.
first love.
Mm.
And we had talked about marriage and children one day, and I was
Mm.
like, this is my person. So I thought.
Mm. Mm.
But I noticed, and I was in junior college at the time in Belize. I didn't come to Georgia yet for college. And we just had this thing that every Friday he would come over to my house. Of course, my parents were there, and we would just watch movies and just spend time with each other. Because my parents were strict. It's not like they would have me, yes, I was 19, but
Mm.
they didn't want their daughter all over the Belizean
Mm.
streets, okay?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we were home and we would watch TV. And I remember like there were a couple of Fridays where I just noticed,
He
huh,
went there.
he
Hmm.
wasn't there. And then I would be waiting. It's 8, it's 9, it's 11 o'clock, it's 12.
Mm-mm.
What's going
Mm-mm.
on? And I would call and I would text and
Mm.
I wouldn't get an answer, or it was, I'm sorry, work got in the way. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I knew something
Mm.
was going on. But at the time, I didn't know how to communicate, like, hey, what's going on? I feel like
Mhm.
your attention has changed, your interest has changed, like,
Mhm.
what's going on? So I
Mhm.
entertained this, I guess we'll call it a friendship with this guy that knew
Mm.
I was in relationship with him, but I was telling
Mama.
him like he's doing this, he's not doing this. And so
Mm.
homeboy was like, you're too beautiful. You're
See?
going through such distress. You need somebody
You need somebody like me.
like me that's going,
Mm-mm.
make you feel good, take
Make you
care of
feel
you.
good.
So I
Take the world off your
entertained it.
shoulders.
Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
entertained it, and yeah, it ended into me being physically committing infidelity and emotional because
Mm-hmm.
now I'm
Yeah, legit.
legit into
Mm-hmm.
wanting to know where this could go, even though I wasn't trying to get rid of the relationship. But come to
Mm-hmm.
find out, dude I was in love with was actually cheating on me.
See?
Cheating on me with somebody that he working with, honey. Yes.
Not wow.
Cheating on
Raggedy.
me with someone that he was working with, and when I
Mm.
would go and meet him for lunch, the same girl
Was
would
serving y'all?
No, this same girl
Oh,
would like be like, "Hey, Ashley, how you doing? Is everything okay?" But you over here cheating with my man behind my back.
she was laughing at you.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So come to find out, we both cheating on each other. But I was only doing it because at the time I realized something was changing.
Mm-hmm.
Something was different. Now after years of that happening and we finally had a conversation, he was like,
Wow.
"You wasn't even doing anything. You was great. It's just
Wow.
I was being stupid. She was flashing it in front of me. I
Mm.
didn't think about how this would affect you." And it
Wow.
was excitement. It was
See?
excitement. So it's
See?
not that I was doing anything, but it
Yeah.
was excitement at the time. And he was in his early 20s. I was 19, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now I did it because I just felt myself slowly just my emotions for him, my love for him was
Mm-hmm.
changing a bit, a huge bit.
Mm.
Cause now it's like,
Mm.
you don't care about me, so I'm gonna find somebody that not
That care for
necessarily
me.
care about me, but
Mm.
is giving
Uh,
me the attention I need right now.
yeah. 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 Why
Yeah.
do you think that neither one of you decided to tap out of the relationship? Both of y'all weren't getting what you wanted. Why do you think you just didn't tap out?
Looking back, I don't really have an answer.
Mm.
Just a part of me just didn't want to leave. But
Mm.
what got me to leave was after that happening, I was coming to Georgia now. You done
So
cheated
you're
on
like,
me. Yeah, I done
I'm
cheated on
finna leave.
you, but you done cheated on me first.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my mindset.
You did it first.
You did it first, so it's like I really loved you. Like I wouldn't have done any of that
Mm.
if you were
Mm-hmm.
just honest with me,
Mm-hmm.
or if you would have just said, "Hey, I've stepped out of the relationship. We need to figure this thing out. If this is something that you
Mm-hmm.
want for the, long term, we need to
Yeah.
figure this out." But that wasn't had. So I just looked at it as, well, I'm moving to Georgia anyway. I'm going to school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm coming back to Belize. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to move on. And I know that hurt
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm looking back, I know that hurt me too, because like I said, the goal was for us to one day get married and have children. Because he
Yeah.
was my first love. He was my first everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like I just wanted to hurt you
Mm-hmm.
or hurt him,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I think that's a space that like a lot of couples don't want to go to. Like they
Yeah.
don't want to say like, "Hey, I'm feeling really tempted. Like we need to
Yeah.
have a conversation." Because
Yeah.
nobody really realizes that until it's almost a little too late.
Yeah.
And you don't want to hurt your partner because
Right.
you know, theoretically, like say if someone is like, "Hey, I'm feeling really, really tempted, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm kind of getting more from this other person." You're going to get offended. And
Yeah.
you have to, and this is a practice, y'all. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying like you're going to just say these magical words and you're going to feel that in your heart.
Yeah.
But you also have to reframe that and say to yourself, okay, let me step out of myself and not feel offended, right? But let me
Hmm.
also respect my partner enough
Yeah.
that they wanted to share with me that they're not getting what they need from this.
Yeah.
And they are potentially getting what they need from somebody else.
Yeah.
And they decided to tell me this
Yeah.
before an affair took place. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that you have to put into practice. And it doesn't like have to come out like, "Oh, are you thinking about cheating on me?" No, that comes from saying instead, "Are you getting what you need from me?
Yeah.
Emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally,
Yeah.
physically, all of those things,
Yeah.
financially." Like
Yeah.
you need to start asking those questions and
Yeah.
you need to be okay with the answer because sometimes the answer to all of those questions will be no.
Yeah. And this is the thing too, y'all. I encourage anyone that's in a relationship that I see individually or even as a couple, I encourage them at least once a month or however often. Once a month, sit down and talk about, okay, what are your thoughts about our relationship? Are you getting
Mm-hmm.
what you're needing from me? Am I getting what I need from you? Like, have
Mm-hmm.
those conversations. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, how are you going to know if you're not having it? Unless you're already talking
Yeah.
about it already. But 9 out of 10 times, a lot of y'all ain't having these conversations. And then
Yeah.
when your partner cheats, you're shocked, or it's like it's the end of the world. So
Mm-hmm.
have these
Mm-hmm.
conversations about, are we meeting each other's needs?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, even if it's rough, because I get it.
Yeah.
Having these conversations can be tough, especially hearing something that you're not familiar with. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
shock you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's having these
Mm-hmm.
tough conversations that are going to allow y'all to grow on an individual
Mm-hmm.
level and as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
having these conversations with each other is so, so important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because what I've seen in my work with working with individuals with couple issues or married couples or whatever relationships, they're not having these conversations.
Mm-mm.
And yes, it's tough. It's tough to
Mm-hmm.
have, especially when your partners start expressing themselves. It's hard to hear. But how else are we
Yeah.
going to move through it? We
Yeah.
got to have the
Yeah.
conversation. And
Yeah.
what else was I going to say about my situation? Come to find out, girl was just a jump off. He didn't even want to like be with her seriously.
Mm.
He just wanted to be with me.
Mm. But
But
just wanted a little bit of extra.
he wanted the cake, the pie, and the cupcake.
Mm.
But for
Mm.
me,
And a
it's like,
tart.
and a tart. But for me, I just wanted love and affection, like Future.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
affection, you know. But
Come on.
but I mean, I'm in my 30s now. I can honestly say, yeah, in my part, I was wrong for stepping out, entertaining
Yeah.
that friendship with benefits, whatever you want to call it, and not have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation with my partner at the time.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
have had a conversation. But
Yeah.
but
That's legit.
this goes back to, I was caught up in my Disney princess way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
which we get caught up in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
That's
I can
real.
take accountability.
There you go. That's all you got to do. Take accountability. So, do
Yes.
you think that, okay, so this will be different for a lot of different people. Let me preface that by saying that first.
Hmm.
Do you think a relationship can come back together once someone has cheated?
Honey, that is different for everybody. Some people might
Thank
be
you.
like, yes, it can if it happened once. I one time.
Okay.
You only
Okay.
got one time to screw it
Okay.
up because you're
Okay.
human. Things happen. Some
Okay.
people are like, no, that's a complete ending of our relationship.
Okay.
So I think it just depends if y'all decide that yes, we're going to work this thing out, then the
Mm-hmm.
person that has committed the infidelity,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have to really sit down and think about, okay, what is going on with me as to
Mm-hmm.
why this is a problem or as to why this keeps happening? What are some things
Yeah.
that I need to work on? Because let's be honest, some people be going through some trauma while they keep doing the same thing over and over. Some
Yeah.
people use sex as a way to release, as a way to run
Mm-hmm.
from, just like how people use food and drinking and drugs as a way to
Mm-hmm.
release or as a way to not deal. You got some
Yeah.
people that's sex is their thing and they have a
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think a couple of things, right?
Okay.
I think that a relationship can continue and thrive and be successful
Yeah.
after cheating has occurred if both parties are willing to commit to the work.
Yes. They
Both
got
have to be willing to commit to it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you got to tear the whole thing down. You
And
got to tear the
nothing but
whole
the
thing down.
truth. The
Nothing
whole
but it.
truth and nothing but the
And
truth. Yeah.
the foundation that y'all once had, you need to go ahead and get that little start over. Start over. Because you cannot rebuild a relationship with the same foundation that you had in your past relationship.
Yeah.
You need to take it as if you're starting from the ground up. Y'all are getting to know each other again.
Yep.
And when you are tearing that stuff down, there's going to be a lot of exposure to hurt. Now, I'll say this. You shouldn't be trying to like really focus so much on the relationship, like when you're talking about like infidelity. But you can kind of dig into some of the patterns that have led to the infidelity, right?
Yeah.
Y'all need to start reestablishing some things, and you have to be honest.
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of that honesty isn't going to come from the cheater. It's going to come from the person who was cheated on.
Yeah.
And you need to say, one, why you've been holding back. Maybe your cheating partner was already raggedy, and that's why you were starting to pull back, and why the cheater felt empty. Because you weren't pouring in because of something they were doing. So you have to start talking about the patterns of that. Yeah. And moving forward, once y'all have gone through all of that hurt, you have to start talking about what you want and what you need moving forward. Yeah. And what you're committing to. And if a sexual act took place during this, y'all need to talk about your sexual expectations, your sex expectations moving forward, like literally, and talk about that. Because if this was just physical infidelity that took place, that means something in the bedroom was lacking.
Right. Right.
Hate to say it like that. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you need to take a class, read some manuals. Yeah. Read a book or something, but you need to really tap into what your partner's expectations are, because it could be physical intimacy that was lacking, which is why they decided or why they fell into that trap. Right. You also need to talk about your emotional needs. Were you pouring into them? Yeah. Why weren't you pouring into them? Talk about all of those things, and then making a commitment, because if you're not going to do that, then that's a problem. And you all have to decide. I always say to couples and individuals, you get to decide when you want to stop being hurt. You really do. Right. And I say that not as a way to rush your hurt, right? Don't ever rush your hurt. You have the divine right to feel hurt as long as you want to feel hurt. Yeah. But you need to decide for yourself, do I want to be hurt and only hurt for the rest of my life? Or do I want to remember what hurt was like and be healed? In order to feel that healing, you got to forgive them. Yeah. And you got to forgive yourself. Yeah. So when you decide with your partner that you want to move forward, you have to set an expiration date for how long you want to blame them. Yeah. And that's set an expiration date. Yeah.
That's another thing, right? These conversations, if you can't have them in a peaceful way, you may need to have it with a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
Because
actually have them with a marriage counselor.
Have them with a marriage counselor. Because I have a couple right now. I said, listen, do not have no conversation about this, the cheating, the infidelity outside of this, because y'all don't have the tools yet to navigate this conversation. No. You don't have it. No. So keep it within the sessions. Yeah. So I can help you work through it, but y'all don't have it outside here. This is why y'all come to sessions mad at each other. Yeah. And because you don't know how to communicate what you need to say. You communicating what you need to say. But the other person is interpreting it differently. You interpreting it differently. Save it for the session, honey.
Please. And y'all, if you are in a counseling session, if you decided to take that step, that is your first signal to say, like, you're intentionally going to put in the work. If you're not going to put in the work, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your partner's time.
Yeah.
If both of y'all want to do this work, do the work and be intentional. And my second thing that I stress to couples, you're going to have some sessions where you are going to loathe your partner by the end of it. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Have some self-care activities in mind when that happens. There are some other sessions, however, because like I said, you're digging up a lot of things.
Yeah.
There are going to be some other sessions where you're like, oh my God, I realized why I fell in love with you. I'm so in love with you. That's also cool.
Yeah.
Do not put sex in the equation until y'all are fully through this stage of life.
Right.
Because sex blurs things.
It does.
It blurs things every time. And let me tell you something. If your therapist is really in tune, if they are a practice therapist, and also when you are going like to get couples counseling, make sure you have a therapist who is on it, who is very in tune with who you are. And you'll feel that. You'll feel that in the first few sessions, guys. So it's okay to dump your therapist. They're used to it. It's fine. But get someone who's in tune to that, because I can always tell when y'all have blurred the lines and y'all have screwed stuff up. Because if you have introduced sex after y'all had a good old session, y'all's mind is blown. And now you are probably thinking, oh, did you have sex with them like that? Did you have sex with them like this? And it's confusing. Don't do this to yourself. So that's something that I would also add. Make sure you are healed and you have forgiven this person, and don't let your sexual appetites blur your growth.
So yes, y'all, don't let sex ruin it. And this is another thing too that I was just thinking about, Andrea, when it comes to couples going to therapy. Be honest. Be honest with yourself first. Because if you go up in there thinking that you're finna continue hiding, then what's the point of doing it?
Yeah.
Especially when you've made a commitment that this is what you want to do. And that's not to say that during the process of doing couples therapy or marriage counseling, that you don't come to this place where you realize we probably do need to separate. We probably do need to get a divorce or whatever. We probably do need to just go our separate ways. And that's okay. But sometimes it takes going through the process to figure out, okay, I am not who I want to be, and I am not fully growing to my capacity being in this relationship with this person.
Yes.
And it's not the therapist's job to tell you whether y'all should stay together or not.
Come on.
That is not our job, honey. That's up to y'all. And I don't want that responsibility.
No.
What y'all not gonna do is say, oh, I went to Andrea and I went to Ashley and they said we need to break up, and now we broken up and I realize we need to be together. Nah, baby. Not finna do that.
Nah, baby. Not finna do that. Now, I do know of a couple of therapists that have said, I don't think y'all should be together during premarital counseling.
Yeah.
That's another thing though.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all should listen if your therapist is saying that.
Yes.
Cause
take heed.
Please. But I do think that it's important to also note that if you are coming to counseling and you have experienced infidelity, you are going to feel a little hopeless in the beginning. And that's not to indicate that you need a divorce or you guys need to get separated. Hopelessness is normal because your idea of your relationship has been shattered.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel like, well, we should just break up. That's a stage. That's a stage, right? Yeah. Because, who wants to deal with pain? Nobody. Nobody wants to deal with pain. If you feel like, oh, I can just escape and I won't feel that pain, that's actually not realistic at all.
Yeah.
Because the person that you share this pain with might want to talk about it. Or you might feel like the only person who really understands what I'm going through is this person who has put this pain on me.
Yeah.
And so you owe it to yourself to get that healing. If it doesn't bring anything else, get your healing.
Yeah.
Give yourself the space to talk through it.
Yeah.
And if your partner doesn't want to participate in that, get individual counseling.
That's right.
Get your own counseling. Get it
That's
for
right.
yourself.
That's right.
Get it for yourself.
And
Because
honestly,
that,
go ahead,
yeah.
Andrea. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because honestly, like that shows an indication of the type of person your partner is if they also don't want to participate.
And I was just going to say, if he or she doesn't want to participate, you may need to ask yourself, at this point, what value do I have in this relationship? If the person doesn't want to seek counseling together for us to figure out how can we get through this, how we can heal separately and together. If they don't want to do counseling, then it's like, so how do you expect this relationship to work? Because clearly y'all figuring it out by yourselves is not going to be beneficial at this point.
To anybody.
So if they're saying, nah, I don't want to talk to nobody. Okay, so why should we stay together then?
Yeah. And that's also like dangerous territory. What else are you thinking might get exposed?
Yeah.
If we're going to talk?
Yeah.
What is your fear?
Because us doing therapy means you going to have to look yourself in the mirror. Some people ain't ready to look themselves in the mirror.
Some of us aren't ready for that.
They're not ready for that. And they rather keep going in this loop of patterns, of habits. They rather keep doing that because it's comfortable than doing the thing that's going to allow them to change. People don't like change.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You gotta be super mindful. I'll say this, like infidelity is really hard. It's really, really hard to get over. And sometimes we don't escape the relationship, right? Sometimes we escape our feelings. And what I mean by that is sometimes we are so caught up in feeling better that we just rather push down the memory that this person cheated on you without really having any conversation about it. You are robbing yourself.
Yeah.
Let me say that. You're robbing yourself of your healing. Yes. And you don't have to do that. It is okay to be mad at somebody and hold them accountable and still be successful. It's possible. It's possible to do that. You have to give yourself enough time to be mad. Give yourself enough time to be mad. Don't try to rush to be like, okay, I'm going to stop being mad in a week. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, no, you're not. No, you're not. You can get mad at somebody for maybe cutting you off on the street after a day or two. But when someone has intentionally decided to break the bond in your relationship, to step out and do something with someone else, that is a hurt that you must process fully.
Yes.
Because if they look at somebody a week later, are you going to push down the idea in your mind? Oh my God, are they looking at somebody because they want to be with them? If you have to consciously do that, you're not healed from it.
Yeah.
And no amount of commitment is going to change that. No amount of I love yous, no amount of flowers are going to change that. That is something you have to process. Don't rush into this fairy tale thinking because you think that's going to make it better.
Right.
Give yourself the amount of time to hurt, the amount of time to forgive, and the amount of time to heal.
And to add to that too, Andrea, like there's when it comes to someone stepping out of the relationship, there's a sense of grief that is happening too. And as we know as therapists, there's stages of grief for loss and death of the death of someone. It's the same thing for when a person steps out of the relationship. You're angry, you get sad, you don't like them, and then you might get to the point where you forgive. But you might forgive, and then the next day it's like, darn, I'm still upset. And
Yeah.
that's where what you're saying, give yourself time to process.
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
different levels to this thing that
Absolutely.
you need
And
time
you,
to process and heal
yeah.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can't revoke someone's forgiveness. That's
Yeah.
why I say be very careful. Be very careful about that.
Yeah.
Because if there are different parts of this affair story, if there are different feelings that you feel like you have not processed, don't be so quick to be like, I forgive you. No. If you're still like, well, I want to know more about what happened between the hours of 1 and 5 on that day. Because I was
Yeah.
texting you at
Yeah.
12:55 and then you didn't hit me back up till 6
Yeah.
p.m. What happened?
Yeah.
Fill in the gaps for me.
Yeah.
Because when you say, I forgive you, you meaning that whole thing.
Yeah.
You mean that whole thing. You're not just talking about the hours between 11 and 1. You're talking about the whole act.
Yeah.
So be very careful and make sure you have the answers that you want.
Yeah.
No, I take that back. Not the answers you want, the answers that you need.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we think, oh, I want to know this, I want to know this, I want to know this. Think about why
Right.
you want those answers. Because sometimes we become masochists
Yeah.
when we are digging through an affair story and we're thinking we need all of these questions answered, but we don't.
Yeah.
You need to know the why did this take place in the first place?
Right.
Because honestly, the win doesn't really matter. Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter the win.
Yeah.
It's more so the why. And if anyone is like thinking that they're getting cheated on or has gotten cheated on, focus on the why first.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah.
Start there. And if you still feel like you need the wins, if you like, and when you think about a win kind of question, think about does it matter?
Yeah.
Think about does it matter? Because it's like, oh, you were running late and you didn't pick up the kids. Okay, that might be a win question. Were you with them when you didn't pick up the kids? And when I had to rush? Like, think about that. Like,
Yeah.
were you with them when it was our anniversary? Those are the type of win questions that
Yeah.
you should ask. But if it was like a random Wednesday or a random Tuesday, how is that answer going to serve you?
Right. Right.
And think
It's not-
about those kind of questions.
Yeah.
What serves you? And my last spiel here, because I told y'all I could talk about this all day. my last like suggested question. You need to think about: am I asking questions that give me enough evidence to leave? Or am I asking questions that are going to give me the details I need to restore this relationship?
Right.
Because a lot of times you could be building two different kind of arguments here. And
That's
if
true.
you are in the mindset when you're like, I'm gathering evidence to leave, you have already decided in your mind that you're going to leave.
That's it.
And that's what you need to say up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Decide what you're building evidence for.
That's right. You need to decide based off of that conversation and asking these questions, what do you want to do moving forward?
Yeah.
What do you want to do for
Yeah.
yourself moving forward? And what do you need to do for this relationship moving forward? Because I will tell you this, with the situation that I told you, that was my first and last time cheating. I don't ever want to do that again. And I ain't never done it again because it's too much. If
It's
I
a
got
lot.
to cheat, I'm going to just leave. It ain't
Hello.
worth it.
It's not.
It's not worth it.
It's literally not. Tap out, y'all.
Yeah.
Tap out.
It
Tap
ain't
out.
worth it.
Tap out. That's just
Yeah.
a world of hurt that you don't need. The world got enough hurts. Don't do that.
Yeah. And if you end up in a relationship that you already know that this person is known for cheating, honey, they're going to do it to you too. If you got
It ain't gonna
him,
change.
if you got him or her cheating, baby, it's going to end that way too.
Sorry.
What makes you
Hate
any
to break it
different?
to ya.
What makes you any different? Unless that person has chosen to change, then that's different.
Yeah.
But if they doing the same thing that they did when you met them, you might need to leave that. That's
You
too
might
much.
need to tap on out.
Yeah.
Unless that's your thing. And
Yeah.
that's your thing. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's your thing, but okay.
You might need
Keep
to let it
thinking that
go.
thing. I guess we're available. Our books are open. If you feel like you are a self-sabotager who is into cheaters, hit us up.
Okay. You used to watch that show, Andrea, Cheaters.
girl, I'd be like, no, got him.
Yup. I used to
I'd
like
be
that
invested.
show.
Man.
It was
And they'd
so
be so
good.
confused. They'd be so confused, like, nah, baby, I didn't know that was your sister. First of all,
Uh-uh.
yes, you did.
Uh-uh.
And what does it matter if it's my sister or not? You are cheating on me.
Right.
Man,
Right.
man. They be in their drawers and everything. He'd be like, did you realize we were following you? Sir,
A mess.
you
Between
are
between
you
them
are not
and
famous.
Maury, those were my shows as a teenager.
Woo! Baby. I love Mari. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Protect him at
goodness.
all costs, Lord. Protect him. I love Maury.
Those were the shows growing up. They be bringing on the
Girl,
cheetahs, the daddies,
man.
the
The
mamas,
non-daddies,
all of them.
all of them. Lord
That
bless
was a
their
good
souls.
show.
So what are our numbers, girl, for the people out here?
Yes. Oh, call to action, y'all.
Yes.
How did you get through a partner stepping out of your relationship?
Please tell us.
How did you get
Please.
through it?
Please.
Because we know
Please.
if it ain't us, we know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to hear from you. How
We
did you
do.
deal with it?
We do.
How
We
did you
do.
get
We
through
want to
it?
know. Come on. Please
And
share your stories.
yes. And so the numbers are, I said the stories are, the numbers are, if you need it. Now, if you are in crisis, we're going to need you to call 911 ASAP right now.
Please. Please.
But if you need to just go ahead and talk to somebody, please call the National Suicide Line at 1-800-273-8255. If you are in Georgia, you need to call the Crisis and Access Line at 1-800-715-4225. And if you are in Houston, Texas, we're going to need you to call 832-416-1177. And if you don't feel like calling anybody, but you still want to talk to somebody, you could text NAMI, NAMI, to 741-741 to connect with a trained crisis counselor who is available 24/7, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need, this is the last thing I'm going to say, if you need a counselor, a marriage counselor, you could find one on Psychology Today. You could even find them on BetterHelp, honey. They got
Yes,
them
you can.
all
Yes, she can.
that can help you in your marriage or your relationship, honey. So
Yes.
go ahead and
Yes.
give them a call or reach out.
Yes. Please reach out.
Yes.
Soon.
Fast.
Because summer's coming up.
Okay.
And you going to either be single, ready to mingle, or be locked up. Okay? So until next time, y'all, follow us on Instagram at Two Therapists Pod. And as always, we are always dropping. We're going to try to always be dropping new videos on YouTube. Yes.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
All right,
Take
y'all.
care.
Bye.
Bye.